And welcome back to FoxNews.com Live, and we're going to be talking right now with Allison Barry, who is our defense specialist, a ballet dancer turned military defense specialist. I love that. That's just so Renaissance. In any case, the article that you have on FoxNews.com right now isn't so much about a military use of something, but actually civilian use of camera surveillance technology that originated with the military that is now being used in schools to keep track of bullies and vandalism and incidents in the hallways, etc. Tell us about this.
You've done better than I could have. You really had snapped that up in a nutshell there. I think it's very interesting because schools have been particularly forward-leaning in using these sort of military-grade, as you mentioned, surveillance cameras to keep children safer. And I was very impressed by that. So when I looked into it further, I couldn't believe they're actually using CSI sort of quality footage. So in the industry, we talk about this thing called the CSI effect, which is that people expect that we've got those sort of capabilities in law enforcement and stuff. And while we might have the technology, it definitely hasn't been rolled out. But cameras, definitely, surveillance cameras, that is actually possible and has been rolled out in a lot of schools. So some schools are even using the sort of technology, which I know we've discussed before, in terrorism incidents when forensically they go back and try to work out when a bomb, say a suspicious package, might be left in a subway station. They've got the technology to trace back and work out when it was left so they can identify who exactly left it, and get a photo image of an image of that face. So schools are actually using that sort of technology for theft, which, as we know, is unfortunately a big problem on campuses in addition to the other sort of threats that you mentioned,
right?
Which are a bit more serious.
It seems a bit extreme when you first hear about it. I mean, these schools, to put in a really good system with enough cameras to provide coverage and at the quality that you can actually identify faces, it costs $100,000 and up from there.
Yep.
But you have spoken with some schools that have implemented it, and they say it saves time and money in the end because schools are spending an inordinate amount of time trying to investigate these incidents, and it's he said, she said, and witnesses are unreliable and all that, and that now they've got the cameras, they go to the videotape, they've got 5 different angles, you can see who instigated, you can see who's writing on the wall, you can see who's stealing that laptop. They're fans, and they say the old analog cameras are so pixelized, they're basically useless.
Right, it's precisely, and with that film Bully, it's really raised the profile on bullying, and it's such a prevalent problem in schools, and here's a great way, it's very hard to hide your behavior when it is being captured so vividly, because we've come such a long way. Our viewers would be familiar with these analog cameras that are the sort of grainy black and white images, and let's be honest, when you look at those things, it's nearly impossible to figure out if it's even a person. Sometimes the quality of imagery is so bad, but the advances are fantastic, as you mentioned. Even license plate capture with the issue we have with pedophiles these days. How fantastic to be able to go back immediately, get that license plate, and be able to find that kid. And when it comes down to cost, I'm so glad you raised that because I anticipated it, which is why for readers I've included in the story how much exactly it costs. But can we put a price on saving one child from a predator? I'd rather see our tax dollars spent on that, especially when, as you mentioned, it's so wide-purposed. In a Columbine-style incident, God forbid we have something like that happen again, what a huge advantage for law enforcement, because one of the advantages of many of these systems is that law enforcement, school systems can opt in for law enforcement to have immediate access. So even before they arrive on the scene, they know exactly where the shooter or shooters are, who the victims are, the status of the victims for the first responders, who are trying to help save those kids' lives. And what an enormous advantage that provides. And I don't really feel like we can put a dollar amount on that. I know it's big figures, but
right. And as upsetting as something like Columbine is, it's relatively rare. But as you say, if it's your school, the ability to pop up a monitor or like 100 monitors and actually find there's the shooter, so we know we can get in this way, we know we can usher these kids out that way. It's invaluable. But also, you bring up in the article that after the fact, for those who don't have that live monitoring capability, you can still go back and look and figure out whether or not the response was appropriate, what you could do differently next time, things like that. But you also bring up that just for the more basic petty crimes in schools, that it's a deterrent.
Yes.
People know the cameras are there, and that crime went down in one district 60%.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable, and I think one of my favorite applications that I saw in one of the California schools was that I'm glad you touched on sort of the hidden savings, because it is expensive, but a lot of times like our teachers are squandering their time patrolling hallways, dealing with incidents, altercations, bullying, as you said, the blame game, he said, she said, all that kind of stuff. And when there's just an image to resolve the fight, that saves so much time in investigation, and then even just for prosecution of crimes, when you've got that footage, it saves so much time in terms of investigation and stuff. But
and it might stop it from happening in the first place.
Exactly, and one of these deterrents is the cameras can actually talk to the kids. So in the classroom, there's mobile access. So even in their handhelds, like an iPhone, a teacher can have access to sort of all the cameras if that's the way the system, the school has approved it. And so if the kids wandering the hallways are up to no good, they can actually call out that kid through the camera and say, "Hey, Joe McIntosh, I see you in that hallway. Get back to class."
Well, that's Big Brother.
Yeah, and he can talk.
That is definitely Big Brother.
It is a big Brother. As you say, you're kind of pointing to the privacy issue, and of course with these, it intensifies when you've got such advanced surveillance capabilities. But I know where I firmly stand on if it's going to keep even just one kid safer. I'd prefer that. If you're not doing anything wrong as a kid, you have nothing to worry about.
Right. A hallway is a public place anyway.
Right.
So. All right. Well, it's very interesting, and if you want to read more about this type of surveillance, you can log on to foxnews.com, and you can check out Allison Barry's article. And she is again our defense specialist, war games columnist, etc.
Oh, thank you. So good to see you.
All right, Allison. Great. Thank you so much.